Hello and welcome back to another Magic Arena video. I am Magic Sven. Playing a little draft today. This is post-commentary, so let me know if you like the change in format. Not too much to decide over in that first pack there, really just Nahiri and a bunch of garbage, so took the Nahiri even though it's pretty narrow. Here, I like the Malcator decks, big fan of those. Tablet of Completion doesn't really do much, but the Fluncing Raptor is okay. Surgical Spellbomb and Furnace Strider also pretty good, but I think I end up taking the Eye here. I just like going hard into these decks pretty quickly, so perfectly happy to get an Eye, even though I could probably be tabling it, really. Here, there's a lot of black cards, not much blue. Geth is a rare, but it's actually just unplayable. Giving -1/-1 to all your creatures is just no good. So I think I probably should be looking at the Paladin here, but I end up taking the Predation. I think that's a mistake. I could be taking a second Paladin here, and that would probably be better. Pretty easy Hexgold Slash, though, given what I have at the point there. I like Bladed Ambassador. It works well with Nahiri as our first pick. Could go well with the Eye of Malcator if we end up being blue-white artifacts. And here we see another Eye. I also do like the Oil Gorger Troll, but I don't have any oil right now, so I'm just going to take another Eye. Here, given we already have two Eyes, pretty happy to pick up a 2-drop. That's an artifact. Not too much for us here. Curator's in our colors. Spellbomb is playable, so that's what we end up taking. I don't care much for anything here. Font of Progress, I think, is just too slow. You can't be milling your opponents, so I believe we just take the Surgical Bay here. Be pretty happy about it. Well, not that happy, but happy enough. Since we are looking at artifacts, I'm kind of just looking at all the artifacts in the pack right now. Take a Mirror Custodian. Geth, fill out my rare account, why not? Glistener Seer is actually pretty good in this format. Definitely would recommend taking those. I end up taking a Skullbomb there, but I think I should have taken the 3/4. Easy rare pickup there. We just take the Unctus. Be happy about it. Fits right into what we're doing already. Here, I do like both of the Reservoir. I do like the Reservoir here. We'll probably have some oil, but I don't think that's what I end up taking here. I think I'm just going to take a Volt Charge. It's just overall very powerful. Good with what we have already. Here, we've got the land, which is pretty good, but it's a little bit slow. I do like the Strider right now. I also like the Engraver and the Halberd, and I think the Halberd is what we're going to end up taking. It's an artifact, it's a non-creature spell, it works just well with all of everything else we got going on right at the moment. Seer is okay, Sawblade Scamp's pretty good, so we're going to take that. We do have a lot of non-creature spells right now. I don't like Phyrexian Arena. We're pretty far off of black already. I like the Sawblade Scamp, though, pretty good. Still a nice card. Also looking at the Splitter here. Splitter turns on our Eyes of Malcator, and that is, in fact, what I am taking here. A lot of good stuff for us in this pack. We got Watcher. Chronicler is good. It's not amazing. We do have one multicolor spell, even though it looks like we're probably not going to be playing that Nahiri at the moment. End up just taking the Watcher. It turns on our Eyes. It's a good blocker early on. Here we've got Punisher and Engraver, really, we're looking at, and I believe I take the Engraver here. I like a 3-mana 3/3, but we're not that aggressive, so I'd rather just get that. Skullbomb, pretty easy pickup here. We don't have enough oil counters to make Anointer work here, so we'll take the Spellbomb. The Experiment's also pretty good, but Spellbomb is where it's at. Take the Font, not going to end up playing it. Second Engraver, still okay. And then just put some cards away. Second Sawblade. Ooh, Sawblade Scamp is not too bad. Not too much for us here. I'm looking at non-creatures and artifacts right now. I think I'm going to end up taking the Barbed Batterfist. It turns on the Eyes, and it's a non-creature spell. I don't think I need another 1-drop. Skitterfang is also really good. That's probably the other consideration here. Similar along, it turns on all the Eyes. And speaking of Eyes, we'll be happy to get our 3rd Eye, and then looks like we're going to get our 4th. I put some thought into getting this Atmosphere Surgeon, but it just doesn't quite do what we're looking for. It's nice to get a Eye flying, but you don't really need to most of the time. The Eye is big enough on itself that it's able to just attack. Here, I'm just looking at the Watcher. Not really anything else worth picking up at the moment. Need the Mind Splice for my eventual brew, but I'll take the Watcher. Here is an easy immobilizer. Had to read the rare, wasn't sure what it did, but it was not good enough. Blue's very open at this point, so we're pretty happy about our direction. I took the artifact, but I could have seen that the Raptor might have been better. Raptor is a house. Here, just going to take a splitter. Turns on all the stuff like we've been talking about. More Watchers coming around late. Synthesizer's pretty good, but we're going to not end up playing it. We're going to be very focused in our artifact deck now. Put the Attendant away. Happy to pick up our Chrome Prowler. And that's the deck. Oh. And we'll jump right into the games here. Leading on the Experiment on turn 2. Pestilence Siphoner, not a problem for us to get around that. So we'll reduce its power and just get those eyes going. Don't need any lands. We've already got our 4th and our mountain. We especially don't need any more islands at this point. So they attack. They get the first poison going. We're just going to play the Splitter here. Get the eye online. Swing in for 6. And we're doing a lot of damage very quickly. And the Siphoner is looking just like a little bit too slow. They'll get their Corrupted on pretty soon, but it might be too late by then. So here, we're just going to play, pretty much just to play out all our threats and call it a day. We've got exactly 10 damage, which isn't enough to finish them off, but if we play the Escaped Experiment here, attack for a good 10 damage. The Attendant doesn't have good blocks anymore. They could block the Attendant or one of the 4 power guys, but they do just tap, block with the Experiment. And then we get a Masticore on the other side of the battlefield. Very scary card. They don't attack with anything, but we have the Chrome Prowler, so we can just tap it down, and then we've got the Halberd to turn on the eye for us. Also helps that we drew the Volt Charge, but we don't really need it. And then all their attacks are bad, and they're just dead on board, so that's enough to finish them off. Ranking up. Heading up to Gold 1. Pretty easy keep. We've got a nice curve here. We got Watchers. We got Raptors. Opponent hasn't done anything until turn 3 where they play their own Raptor. Did attack here, figuring I'd be okay to trade a Watcher plus a Volt Charge for their Raptor. Probably one of the more confusing attacks you could see from your opponent, because usually the blue pump spells obviously don't work. I think if they were savvy enough, they probably could have figured out I had Volt Charge, but maybe they don't want to make that trade anyways. I'm not terribly sure. This time I decided not to offer that trade. But I will trade a Raptor for a Raptor. I do want to clear the board of these guys. They're just very powerful, so I'm happy enough to trade 1 for 1. It's probably going to happen at some point anyways. Play out our Splitter this turn. They have a Spell Bomb. We'll see if they have the 3rd land to bounce my token. And looks like they've got a Serum Snare instead. Kind of doing the same job. Alright. And now, since our board has stalled out a little bit, I am willing again to offer this trade. And this time they're going to take it. So we draw a card. It's another land. Finish off the Raptor. Nothing to proliferate. Just get another Watcher out there. And Watcher plus Splitter can do a decent amount of damage. Looks like they might be bouncing it here, which is fine with us. They still did not draw their next land. We'll just play out our cards here. I'm gonna leave the Spell Bomb in hand for now. Don't need to tell them I have it. I got so much mana that's not gonna be a problem to play it and activate it if I want to. I could maybe see just playing it and cycling immediately, but I don't feel like there's a big reason to do that. Attacking for 6 here. It looks like they've got removal. Indeed. Don't want to equip the Batter Fist on the Watcher because that would just kill it immediately. And they do have Serum Core Chimera, which is a problem. So as we said, we've got enough mana to play and activate Spellbomb right away, so we do that. They get to play the Chimera again, and unfortunately we're just kind of drawing lands on lands here. Not really much we could do about that. I decided to cycle my card there, but I should have attacked first. There was no reason not to. Could have just got a free 3 damage, perhaps. Didn't equip the Batter Fist here. I didn't want to lose it to like the 4 mana, do 1 damage to all your stuff, but they've got a Surgical Spellbomb to get rid of my token. And we've drawn another land, which is very unfortunate. And they've got a second Serum Core Chimera. Tough sledding from this point. Chrome Prowler's okay, but it's a little bit slow now, especially since they're getting their engines online. They'll be able to just remove counters and destroy my threats pretty quickly. So we'll play the Prowler here. Tap down the Seer. Just try and get in some damage quickly. They bottom a card with their Scry. And we're going to equip all our stuff up. I'm fully expecting it to get blown up with any burn spell here, but just going to have to go for it. Don't really have a choice to wait around. And then I will play Escaped Experiment post-combat. Don't want to put the Barbed Batter Fist on it, but I will put the Splitter over there. Mostly just kind of doing this to even out my mana. I suspect that one of these creatures is going to die. It hasn't happened yet, but when it does, I want to be able to move the equipment around so it's all on one without too much mana being used. They did remove one, and they have the Serum Core to get rid of the Chrome Prowler. So now things are looking pretty bad for us. They're discarding Striders, which is really bad news. We drew another land, so that's pretty much the game. There's nothing I can do to come back from that one, unfortunately. So moving on to the next hand, we've got a mulligan. Only 1 land there, that's not going to work. Good keep on 6, though. We've got stuff to do early. Just going to put a land back here. We've got the Seer to draw us into more lands if we need it. We've got the Skull Bomb, too. Not too concerned about finding the extra lands, and it just shows up immediately, so no worries there. Not going to attack, of course. Opponent cracks their Terramorphic for a Swamp and lays out an Engraver. I am looking for action here. Escaped Experiment is a little too slow. Pretty happy about Watcher, though. Opponent plays out a Draw Spellbomb, which not doing too much yet. Land. I think I'm going to keep this land. I need it eventually, and I want to play the Splitter on time. It'll at least let me be the beatdown for a little bit. So happy enough with the land. Possible I shouldn't have been scrying on that last turn, but it's pretty close. They put out a Chimney Rabble. Very good card. And they are going to attack me with it. And I'm okay trading here. Getting the first eye out is pretty good. We'll hit them for 1, because why not? And then we'll play the eye. Don't need the Prowler, or the Scamp rather, but we will take the Prowler. Another Chimney Rabble from the opponent. And we're just going to have to take this 3. Though we could chump with the Watcher here. I think that's what I'm thinking about, and looks like that is what I'm going to do. And then we can Hexgold slash the Chimney Rabble for the last 2 points. They already have 1 in the graveyard, so I'm not too worried about giving them a good Skull Bomb target. It's also going to be a bit slow anyways. We drew a splitter, which was really nice. That lets us turn on the eye and get a 4-2 out, which will be attacking next turn. Assuming nothing too rough happens to us. Alright, they've got an Annihilating Glare, and they sacked a Goblin to do it. Not too worrying. Furnace Punisher comes out for them. Considering whether I want to scry here. Not sure what I'm looking for, though, so I'm okay just to let it go. I think probably more eyes is the best thing I could draw at the moment. But we'll pass the turn. Might cycle the Skull Bomb end of turn here. I'm also happy enough to trade Prowlers for Furnace Punisher if I can. But they're actually going to steal my Prowler. Give me the old 1-2 punch of attack you with all the stuff and then sack it for value. So I get a free block on the Goblin here. Take 6, and then here comes the Annihilating Glare. Destroy my Glistener Seer. I do use the last counter, of course. Put the land away. And in a little bit of trouble here, but the eye is really putting in the work. And I am going to sack for a card here. Bouncing any of this stuff isn't that exciting. But just playing 2 things is pretty good. I still have eye attacks that I'm happy to play. And I don't need to tap anything with Chrome Prowlers, so I'll just equip my Splitter here and attack with the eye. It'll fall off at end of turn. And they just pass right back to me. Very suspicious, because they do have the Spell Bomb over there. I'm guessing that they have more... yeah, more removal. Yeah, and they want to get my eye off. Still attack, though. I believe they do trade here. No, they just let it go through. And I believe now is the time for Spell Bomb. Their mana is a little bit awkward, though. They almost assuredly want to get back the 4-mana 3/3, but they don't have the mana to cast it again this turn. We equip up all our guys. I don't want to send with the 1-power guy and trade it for a Goblin. So I move the equipment over. Not going to block there, of course. We draw the Halberd, which is really good in this position, because now we can just equip that on our cat, and we've got First Strike and Trample here. Suddenly their 1-mana Goblin blocks just aren't nearly as good. And so we'll move some stuff over at end of turn. They just didn't block at all, so we're pretty happy with that. I move the Batterfist back just so I have a good block on the Chimney Rabble. They played the Heretic Praetor, which is pretty darn good. But we've got so much attack. Here we're going to equip everything. And they're going to have to make some not so exciting blocks as a result. Yeah, and I'm just going to move all the equipment. The Watcher is going to go away end of turn due to the Praetor's ability. But it's just worthwhile to get in this 8 damage. They have to block really not exciting. Not excitingly. They're going to lose everything except for 1 Goblin token here. So that's one way to beat a Praetor. So we lose our card there. They play another Rabble. But again, we're just going to re-equip everything onto our token. And the attacks are going to be a lot easier for us that way. So here's this equip. And I drew a Transplant Theorist this turn. Given that our mana is a little tight, I'm going to just play the Theorist here instead. No point looting. And then next turn I can equip everything up on there and have much better attacks. Full Charge, of course, just wins the game. So we just cast it and win the game. I think we were going to win that one anyways, but never hurts just to have an easy out. Pretty easy keep here. 2 lands, 1 of each color. Spellbomb to get us to the next lane if we had troubles, but we did not. And we've got a hand with multiple eyes all of a sudden. They're going to Hexgold slash our Scamp. Don't mind that too much. They were definitely considering it on turn 1. And opponent unfortunately misses a land drop, which is going to make things real tough for them. We, on the other hand, do not need 2 mountains, so happy to just let those go to the bottom of the deck. Play another eye, turning on the first eye, finding another eye, hitting for 4. And opponent is in a tough spot now. It's open for debate whether they want to be double blocking there. I don't think attacking was right. I think you want to try and leave up the double block, but it's a tough position in any case. They take another 8, and we've got a mobilizer coming down next turn. So now they're attacking with all, which feels like the give up attack. They've got Shrapnel Slinger to take out one of my eyes. But with the immobilizer, it's just not going to be enough. We're going to be able to play the immobilizer, turn all the eyes on, tap down your guy. And them tapping out puts the nail in the coffin on that one. So eyes come on, tap down your creature, hit you for lethal. Another good hand here. We got a Watcher on 2, and then we're just going to be on the eye parade until the end of time. Had a little bit of a disconnect there, but opponent played Blightbelly Rat with 1 mana somehow. I always enjoy an odd tap from a connection issue. Decided not to block there. Didn't feel worthwhile. And they play a Skull Dweller, which is pretty good against what we're up to. Don't want... I wouldn't have hated the splitter there. I do decide to just cycle through this card, though. And I think I got the Escaped Experiment so that I could reduce the Skull Dweller's power. No attacks there. Don't want to trade an eye for the Death Toucher. And I actually just end up trading here. I think it's right to... So I ended up just playing the Immobilizer and attacking. They're missing a color, but they do find it. And it's a Lattice Blade Mantis. We drew another eye, which is great. And we're actually going to keep both of these cards, I believe. Just having more eyes is just very good. And I'm willing to trade Mantis for eye here. That's perfectly reasonable. And I decided to move these back. I just want to get more threats quickly. They have a Engulfer, which is large and able to block our eyes, but it's just going to be a little bit off pace. Here, we're going to have to tap if we want to attack, but we're just going to let it go. If we can deal with all their creatures on this turn, we know we have an artifact on top to turn on the eyes. And essentially we can deal with 3 creatures. So we use a Prowler, tap down the Skull Dweller. Eyes come online, but that doesn't matter. We tap down the Stalker, and then we're going to play the Skull Bomb, turn on all the eyes, bounce the Engulfer, and that'll be lethal. We even were able to deal with 1 more creature since we had an untapped Immobilizer, but it was not necessary. Here we lost a little bit of footage, but they duressed me on turn 1, and then they made me sack on turn 2. We play an Escaped Experiment. Unfortunately, we don't have double blue to play our Unctus this turn, so we're just going to play another Experiment. No creatures to target. Guessing they're going to crack their Skull Bomb in a turn. They do not. And we've got a 2/4. And I'm going to be happy enough just to bounce that. It's expensive. It shuts down our attacks a little bit. We drew a splitter off the top, and they played Obliterator, which is very terrifying. Experiments do not help attacking through that, so we're not going to do anything this turn. Opponent will replay their 2/4. And swing in with the Obliterator. Now, since they did that, we get to just attack with everything as well. Reduce the power on the head cleaver to nothing. We're going to do the same for the Obliterator, but that doesn't matter. And then we're going to Volt Charge to finish it off, but we are going to wait until damage happens before we do that. And they're already down to 8. You could maybe talk about holding the Volt Charge to just try and do damage to face. But I think it's right just to play it, get rid of the blocker. This kind of forces them into keeping their Obliterator back. They make us sack a non-token creature, which is not too bad. We drew very nice off the top and got a Chrome Prowler. Tap down the Obliterator, attack for 6. And now they're all the way down to 2. They play the Head Cleaver and the Hive Master. So we're going to play out Transplant Theorist. We don't quite have enough draws to get through. Discard the Eye. It's a little late for that. So they play Necrogen Communion, which is not saving them as of yet. And looks like they're holding here and not playing anything else. There's questions about what should I do here, but I do end up just playing the Unctus out and attacking. I think it's definitely worth attacking here. It didn't feel like the opponent had anything, and you got to trust your reads on this kind of stuff. If this all goes through without me winning, I'd have to sack 4 permanents, and I think I'd still have a good shot at winning that game, so happy enough with the attacks, and of course it led to victory. We're going first in this game. We got a Watcher on turn 2, and then the Eye Parade is going to start coming through town. They play the Duelist. I'll take my 2 poison next turn. Not too big of a deal. Don't really need either of those right now. The Watcher's not blocking effectively against the Duelist, so we'll let that one go. And opponent doesn't have anything. So I am suspicious of a counterspell here. I'd rather have the Splitter get countered than the Eye. So that's what I went with. And they did in fact have it, so I think we played around the right stuff there. Opponent's going to hit us again. And now we are going to play the Eye. They could have the 2-mana counter, but did not give them priority stop. I'm going to bottom both of these, I believe. Don't really need the Experiment right now. It's good to have another artifact that turns on everything, but don't need it. They do want to trade Watchers, which is a little surprising, but makes enough sense that I'm not too worried about it. And then they play Vivisurgent's Insight, which I don't think I've ever run that in a deck. I just haven't found it to be quite good enough. We've got our Prowler to turn our eyes on, and opponent is already down to 6. Sinew Dancer's not a bad drop. We are corrupted, so they can't activate it for 1 mana. Not going to tap down their Duelist here. And so now we are going to play out our Chrome Prowler on our turn, so we can turn our eyes back on. And tap the Raptor. I did want to try and make them block with the Sinew Dancer. I think it would have been better to tap the Duelist, though. I'd rather trade for, or I'd rather make them block with the Raptor. I was very confused by this attack. And it felt like a Wrath was coming, and indeed, that is what they have. But the thing with that is, it makes us draw a card, and we still have the eyes on the battlefield. So we just get to just play our Bard Battle Fist, and then hit for lethal, and that's enough. The mites cannot block, and so that'll be all it takes to do that. And here we're looking at another hand with a bunch of eyes in hand. Needed to draw the island, and we did because we're pros. Lead on the Barbed Batter Fist. Looks like our opponent has a removal spell, and they do. They have the Whisper, so they're going to take out our Rebel, and they're going to play a Bone Picker Scourge. And we're going to start our Eye Parade. These cards are all pretty good. I'm going to put the Raptor to the bottom because I just want artifacts. I just want to be playing artifacts for the rest of time, basically. They have a Raptor, which is a little slow at the moment. I'm going to play our Eye. Don't really need the other land. Watcher is debatable, but I do end up putting it on the bottom. And I'll just equip here. I'd rather hold the Spell Bomb as a secret and to turn the eyes on. Opponent is missing a land drop, and they play the 1/3. We are not corrupted yet, so it's not a big problem. Hit with the eyes, doing another 8 damage to our opponent. And I decided to just pass the turn here and run out a Prowler at the end. I want to tap them as low as I can, just try and force bad trades or possibly just do lethal. So we'll do the Prowler. I think I should have tapped the Bone Picker Scourge just in case they got surprise corrupted somehow and could have gained 2 life. But doesn't really matter. They have a Vraska's Fall to make me sack the Prowler. But we're turning our eyes on and we get to just bounce the Scourge. And now we've got 8 damage coming at them, and that's enough to win the game. And that's the draft. Nice trophy, Gek. Yeah, very fun one to play. Definitely recommend trying out Malcator if you can. Thanks for watching all, and I'll catch you next time.